8 or 9 others who have announced they will be running on the Republican ticket, or running in the primary, I should say. How do you separate yourself from them, and how do you use your Washington experience as a positive and not as a detriment?
Well, I think I do have a lot of experience, not only in Washington, but I was a small businessman here in Arkansas for 24 years. My brother and I were in the clinic, in a big clinic, and so I also have the experience in healthcare, being an eye doctor. And so I think all of those things are very, very beneficial as we go forward. So that's a challenge for all of us, is trying to differentiate. There are a number of candidates, and so I'm sure that we'll be together several times as time goes by and try and get our message out to the people of Arkansas, our visions for how we should move forward. And again, the number one thing I think we should be focused on are jobs, 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 jobs in the economy. If you don't have a job and you can't support your family, all these other things are pretty inconsequential.
Is there any?
You mentioned several things that were job killers. How do you plan to create jobs?
Well, I would like to see us cut the corporate tax. President Bush talked about a holiday on payroll tax. Anything that we can do to get money into people's pockets. We also need to, things that create investment, capital gains tax, lowering that, investment tax for businesses. Anything that we can do to get people investing in our country would be a good thing, and that will create jobs.
Is there any candidate or challenger that you see as your biggest opponent right now as far as Republicans go?
Like I said, I'm just kind of jumping in. We're all going to work hard. I know the candidates, I think, are excellent. They're good friends, and so we're just going to run hard and, like I said, try and get our message out. Well, I think what they're trying to do is paint me as a person that's not a conservative in that regard. And some of our people like Paul Ryan, one of our most conservative, one of our most fiscally responsible people, after visiting with people like that, really trying to decide what was best for the country, what was best for Arkansas. I didn't believe that the conservative thing to do was to let us financially melt down. All of our investment banks were failing. They were failing all over the world. Almost every country throughout the world has done the same thing. The thing that I agreed to was such that the banks received money. Much of that money has been repaid now. We've actually made about $80 billion worth of interest. As they came back and tried to do TARP 2, I voted against that because President Obama had turned the thing into a slush fund. And we've worked really hard to try and make sure that the money coming back in there will be used to pay down the deficit and not be used for the stuff that they feel like that they can slush around with.
Congressman, why now? So many people have been in the race for months. One of your opponents was saying that he felt like they had kind of made it easier for you by being out in the trail and making Blanche seem vulnerable, and that now you're coming in and you're taking advantage of
Well, I would argue that it's not that late. The governor just announced, last week, Mike Rossi announced for re-election. Marion Barry decided to step down. All of that's taking place. The other thing, too, is I would argue that I've worked very, very hard, as I talked today, about trying to educate the people of Arkansas as to why these things like cap and trade, the energy tax, why health care is a bad deal for the American people, why I should be voting against it while the rest of the delegation should be voting against it. And I think that was a big deal. For the last couple of months, I've been in a situation where I just really felt like I should reconsider it. I've made a lot of calls in the state asking friends and people that I have a lot of respect for, and they really encouraged me to step forward. I think I'm uniquely qualified in the sense of being a sitting congressman. I've been in Washington for 9 years. We've worked really hard in the 3rd District of Arkansas. We've worked hard to provide the constituent services that people expect. I understand that this is a servant's job. We've worked hard to build consensus. We worked very well with the rest of the delegation, including Senator Lincoln. And then also, I've worked very hard to represent the 3rd District with the conservative values that the people of Arkansas want, the people of Arkansas looking at it, and they know they're not here. I think that's the difference.
Were you getting encouragement from Washington, people in Washington urging you to get on the race?
You know, through the years, I've gotten a lot of encouragement since that's natural because I'm the only congressman. So, again, I've been encouraged. I hadn't been in contact with them in months though. So no, the answer is no. In fact, on the Saturday after all of this broke, they called me and said, "What's going on in Arkansas? What are you doing?" So no, not at all. Now since that time, after I had essentially told a reporter that I was at this time had the possibility of actually looking at the race, then since that time I visited.